In a remarkable show of solidarity with the Palestinian people, renowned French actress Adèle Haenel has joined an international flotilla bound for Gaza. This bold move, announced just hours before the fleet's scheduled departure, has attracted global attention, sparking discussions not only in political and humanitarian circles but also in the world of art, culture, and activism. Adèle Haenel, widely known for her performances in critically acclaimed films such as Portrait of a Lady on Fire, has long been outspoken about social justice issues. By boarding the international fleet headed toward Gaza, she is positioning herself not just as an artist but as a powerful voice for human rights. Her decision comes at a time when the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Gaza has reached alarming proportions, with international organizations warning of worsening shortages of food, medicine, and basic supplies. The flotilla, often referred to as the Freedom Flotilla, is composed of humanitarian activists, international observers, and political figures from across Europe, the Middle East, and beyond. Its mission is to deliver humanitarian aid and symbolically break the Israeli blockade on Gaza, a blockade that has been in place since 2007. Organizers of the fleet argue that their aim is peaceful and purely humanitarian. They stress that their action is intended to highlight the desperate plight of civilians trapped in Gaza under what they describe as collective punishment. Israel, however, views such flotillas with suspicion. Authorities in Tel Aviv have consistently described these missions as politically motivated, accusing organizers of attempting to undermine Israel's security. In past instances, flotillas bound for Gaza have been intercepted by Israeli naval forces, often leading to tense standoffs and, in some cases, violent confrontations. With Adèle Haenel's high-profile participation, the stakes and visibility of this voyage have increased dramatically. International reactions have already begun to pour in. Human rights organizations such as Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch have applauded the symbolic act, calling it a necessary reminder of the human cost of the Gaza blockade. European activists have welcomed Haenel's decision as a courageous stance against oppression. At the same time, critics argue that such symbolic gestures are unlikely to achieve practical results and may risk escalating tensions in an already volatile region. For Gaza's residents, however, even the symbolic support carries immense significance. Over the years, civilians in the region have suffered repeated cycles of conflict, economic hardship, and restricted mobility. Access to international aid is limited, and the ongoing restrictions have left many dependent on small shipments of humanitarian assistance. For people on the ground, the idea that an internationally recognized figure is willing to stand with them is not just symbolic, it is deeply empowering. Adèle Haenel herself released a short statement before boarding the flotilla. In her words, "I am here as a human being first, and an artist second. Art is meaningless if it cannot speak for justice, for humanity, and for the right of people to live free from fear and suffering. My decision to join this mission is not about politics, it is about solidarity and human dignity." Her statement has resonated with thousands of her fans worldwide, many of whom have taken to social media to express admiration and support. On platforms like Twitter and Instagram, hashtags related to Gaza, Palestine, and Haenel herself began trending shortly after her participation was confirmed. This digital momentum has amplified the cause and brought renewed attention to Gaza at a time when international media coverage is often limited to military developments rather than the humanitarian crisis itself. European governments have responded cautiously. While some lawmakers have praised Haenel's bold gesture, others have voiced concern that such actions could strain diplomatic relations with Israel. France, in particular, faces a delicate balancing act. On the one hand, Haenel's decision reflects the sentiments of many French citizens who sympathize with the Palestinian cause. On the other hand, French officials are wary of any move that might be interpreted as hostile by Israel. The United Nations has yet to make an official comment on this specific flotilla, but previous UN reports have highlighted the dire humanitarian situation in Gaza. According to UN data, more than 2 million people in Gaza live under blockade conditions, with limited access to clean water, electricity, and healthcare. The international community has repeatedly called for easing restrictions, but diplomatic solutions have remained elusive. This flotilla, though symbolic, taps into a broader historical narrative. For over a decade, international activists have attempted to breach the blockade through sea missions. The most infamous incident occurred in 2010 with the Mavi Marmara, when Israeli forces intercepted the ship, leading to the deaths of 9 activists and a global outcry. Since then, flotilla missions have continued sporadically, often with limited success but significant symbolic impact. Haenel's presence in the latest mission has reignited that history, reminding the world of the continuing struggle to highlight Gaza's plight. The cultural dimension of Haenel's involvement should not be underestimated. Artists, writers, and cultural figures have historically played pivotal roles in shaping political discourse. By choosing to take part in this mission, Haenel is using her platform to shine a spotlight on an issue often overlooked by mainstream entertainment media. It demonstrates how culture and activism can intersect to challenge injustice and mobilize public awareness. Analysts suggest that Haenel's action could inspire other high-profile figures to take similar stances. If more celebrities and cultural icons lend their voices or physical presence to humanitarian efforts, the pressure on governments and international organizations to address the Gaza situation could intensify. Whether this will translate into concrete policy changes remains uncertain, but the symbolic power is undeniable. Meanwhile, security concerns remain high. Israeli defense officials have not yet commented on whether they intend to intercept the flotilla, but experts believe such an outcome is highly likely. Naval interception has been the standard response in the past. If that happens again, it could create another international flashpoint, particularly because of Haenel's presence on board. Any confrontation that puts her safety at risk could spark diplomatic protests from France and other European nations. In Gaza itself, anticipation is building. Local media outlets have reported widespread awareness of the flotilla's arrival, with residents hopeful that, at the very least, the voyage will draw renewed attention to their plight. Even if the fleet is stopped before reaching Gaza's shores, the symbolic message is already being heard loud and clear: the world has not forgotten them. As the flotilla sets sail, the global spotlight is firmly fixed on Adèle Haenel and her fellow activists. Their mission, while fraught with uncertainty, has already succeeded in reframing the conversation about Gaza from one of distant politics to immediate human empathy. The next days will determine whether the fleet manages to reach Gaza, but regardless of the outcome, the symbolic power of this action will continue to echo far beyond the Mediterranean. In the words of one activist on board, "Even if we are stopped, the message has already been delivered: Gaza is not alone."